Hey, welcome to Media Headlines 102. I recently in Media Headlines 101 talked about the media as they report on the real estate market. And today in this video, Media Headlines 102, I'm going to show you what some headlines and content of news articles actually mean to you. Like I said in the other video, Media Headlines 101, often the headlines in the news can be misleading. I'll put a link to that video in the comments section below for you in case you missed it. Now take this headline for example. GTA home sales plummet amidst COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Other times I've seen headlines like Toronto real estate market stalled or crashing or screeching to a halt. Now these are the most ambiguous, misleading, and misunderstood headlines, and we see them over and over and over again. I say they're ambiguous because there's a critical distinction that's missing. For example, is the headline or the article referring to prices of the properties, or is it referring to the number of transactions that took place? Now let's face it, not all, but much of the media sells doom and gloom and fear whenever it can. Maybe that's what gets readers, but the reality is that most people, when it comes to real estate, are only interested in what's happening to the value of their home or their house or their condo where they live or where they might be moving. So take a look at this headline during the COVID-19 pandemic that I just said. Total transactions are down 67% compared to a year ago. Total listings are down 64% compared to a year ago. Well, that should be obvious. People were told not to leave their homes. It doesn't mean there's less interest in the market. It means people can't go out. Buyers were afraid to go into someone else's house for fear of getting contaminated, and sellers were afraid of having strangers come into their house for fear of bringing the virus in. But there were still transactions that happened. Some people absolutely had to buy or sell during those times for certain reasons. And those homes were listed and those buyers were assisted, all with the help of realtors who provided gloves and masks and sanitizers and extra precautions. But here's what's most important. If you look at the prices or the values of those sales that did happen during the pandemic, you'll see that the average selling price, even during the pandemic, was actually 1% higher than the same time last year. Okay, so for 2 or 3 months, the prices and the values didn't climb by 5 or 6 or 7%, but they still went up, which is amazing considering the state of emergency at the time. And an increase in prices and value is far different than a plummeting market as that headline tried to imply or suggest. Alternatively, if we were to ever experience a market where supply far exceeded demand, then transaction numbers could go way up because real estate is more affordable to many more people with smaller budgets. But the prices would go down, obviously. So the lesson here is that often these headlines are misleading because they're ambiguous. They don't make it obvious if they're referring to the number of transactions that took place or the prices and values of those properties, which really is all you care about as a homeowner or a potential home buyer. So again, I always recommend that when you see real estate headlines, if you really want to know what it means to you, first of all, take those headlines with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean that's what's happening in the market. But what you really should do is speak to a realtor who you trust, who really knows the market, is full-time in the market, and understands how it applies to you and your interests and where you live or where you might be going. Because whatever the news is reporting might be accurate, but ambiguous and apply different meanings to different people in different areas. And it might be totally irrelevant to you. So like I always say, remember, in real estate or any other process, if there was a better way, wouldn't you at least want to know about it? If you're always looking for market updates or tips or suggestions to get your house ready to sell or ideas if you're thinking about possibly buying, please make sure you click on the subscribe button. I'm always adding some great updates to this channel. It's confidential, so don't worry if you don't want anybody to know about it. Or you're always welcome to send me an email, which is also confidential. And I love to talk anything about real estate with you. So send me an email, mike@TheREguy.ca, and I'd love to answer your questions or have a chat with you, and we'll go from there. Again, no pressure, no obligation, just happy to talk real estate, and it's always confidential. And hey, before you forget, just before you go, would you please right now just click on the thumbs up button so that this video and others can help other people that might have the same questions or same concerns or same interests, and we'll just help get the messages out there. So thanks for clicking on thumbs up, thanks for watching, and see you next time.